Janavallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari and Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jai Vistapad Paramahansa Parudikacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parudikacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Narayana Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamadiriyet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service unto the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 12th day of October 2019 in New Dwarka, Los Angeles, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we're reading from Canto 1, Chapter 18, verse 17. Tannak param punyamasanghritartam akyanamathyadbhuta yoga nishtam akyayananta charito papannam Parikshitam Bhagavatabiramam Tannak Param Punyamasanghritatam Akyanamatyanbhutayoganishtam Akyayananta Chaditopapannam 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 Parikshitam Bhagavat. Ladies. Tannak Param Punyamasanghritatam Akyanamatyanbhutayoganishtam Akyayananta Chaditopapannam Parikshitam Bhagavatabiramam Tannak Param Punyamasanghritatam Akyanamatyanbhutayoganishtam Akyayananta Chaditopapannam Parikshitam Bhagavatabiramam Punyamasanghritatam Akyanamatyanbhutayoganishtam Okay, can I just read these through because you all can see them on the board? Okay. Tat, therefore, naha, unto us, param, supreme, punyam, purifying, asambhita artam, as it is, akyanam, narration, ati, very, adbhuta, wonderful, yoga nishtam, compact in bhakti yoga, akyahi, describe, ananta, the unlimited, acharita, activities, upapannam, full of parikshitam, spoken to Maharaj Parikshit, Bhagavata, of the pure devotees, Abhiramam, particularly very dear. Translation: Thus please narrate to us the narrations of the unlimited, for they are purifying the supreme. They were spoken to Maharaj Parikshit, and they are very dear to the pure devotees, being full of bhakti yoga. So this is the sages at Naimisharanya requesting Sutta Goswami to continue his narration. Purport: What was spoken to Maharaj Parikshit and what is very dear to the pure devotees is Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is mainly full of the narrations of the activities of the Supreme Unlimited, and therefore it is the science of Bhakti Yoga,
or the devotional service of the Lord. Thus it is para, or supreme, because although it is enriched with all knowledge and religion, it is specifically enriched with the devotional service of the Lord. So while I say my prayers to the spiritual master, Dravida Prabhu, can you cue up 2nd Canto, 2nd chapter, final verse, text 37, 2:37. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara. How are we doing there? 2:37. So this theme of wanting to hear the narrations of the Lord is throughout the Bhagavatam. And I picked this verse because it's very sweet, and Prabhupada has a very nice purport there on this theme. Okay, so I'll say, you say? Pabanti ye bhagavata atmanaksatam katam mitam shavanaputeshu samritam punanti te vishayava dushatashayam vajanti tat sharanasoro hantikam. Just the sound is blissful, right? Now listen to the meaning now. Prabhupada's wonderful purport. Those who drink through all reception, fully filled with the nectarian message of Lord Krishna, the beloved of the devotees, purify the polluted aim of life known as material enjoyment, and thus go back to Godhead, to the lotus feet of Him, the personality of Godhead. Purport. The sufferings of human society are due to a polluted aim of life, namely lording it over the material resources. The more human society engages in the exploitation of undeveloped material resources for sense gratification, the more it will be entrapped by the illusory material energy of the Lord. And thus the distress of the world will be intensified instead of diminished. The human necessities of life are fully supplied by the Lord in the shape of food grains, milk, fruit, wood, stone, sugar, silk, jewels, cotton, salt, water, vegetables, etc., in sufficient quantity to feed and care for the human race of the world, as well as the living beings on each and every planet within the universe. The supply source is complete, and only a little energy by the human being is required to get his necessities into the proper channel. There is no need of machines and tools or huge steel plants for artificially creating comforts of life. Life is never made comfortable by artificial needs, but by plain living and high thinking. The highest perfectional thinking for human society is suggested here by Shukadeva Goswami, namely, sufficiently hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Now just a note on this word sufficiently. You'll find in Prabhupada's books, oftentimes it means abundantly or amply, which is another meaning for the word, not so common in American English. And here I think it means abundant hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam. For men in this age of Kali, when they have lost the perfect vision of life, this Srimad Bhagavatam is the torchlight by which to see the real path. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada has commented on the Katamritam mentioned in this verse and has indicated Srimad Bhagavatam to be the nectarian message of the personality of Godhead. By sufficient hearing, by ample hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, the polluted aim of life, namely lording it over matter, will subside, and the people in general in all parts of the world will be able to live a peaceful life of knowledge and bliss. For a pure devotee of the Lord, any topics in relation with His name, fame, quality, entourage, etc., are all pleasing, and because such topics have been approved by great devotees like Narada, Hanuman, Nanda Maharaj, and other inhabitants of Vrindavan, certainly such messages are transcendental and pleasing to the heart and soul. And by the constant hearing of the messages of the Bhagavad Gita and later of Srimad Bhagavatam, one is assured herein by Srila Shukadeva Goswami that he will reach the personality of Godhead and render Him transcendental loving service in the spiritual planet of the name Goloka Vrindavan, which resembles a huge lotus flower. Thus, by the process of Bhakti Yoga, directly accepted as suggested in this verse by ample hearing of the transcendental message of the Lord, the material contamination is directly eliminated without one's attempting to contemplate the impersonal Virat conception of the Lord. And by practicing Bhakti Yoga, if the performer is not purified from the material contamination, he must be a pseudo-devotee. For such an impostor, there is no remedy for being freed from material entanglement. Thus then the Bhaktivedanta purports of the second canto, second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Lord in the Heart. So, this is a very wonderful verse. The previous verse also, the translation is, O King, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, always and everywhere. So Srimad Bhagavatam, after the first two verses in the first canto, which I'm sure you're familiar with, defining the absolute truth as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, describing Krishna in the spiritual world and enlightening Brahma and creating this material world. And then defining the Srimad Bhagavatam, Dharma Projitakaita Votra. Here in this Srimad Bhagavatam, all cheating religions are kicked out. Right at the beginning, they're making it clear. There's going to be no karma kanda here, no praying for material wealth or fame or followers or anything like that. Although you find some of that is roundly criticized and overcome in the course of the Bhagavatam by pure devotion. So, and then it describes, right there in the second verse, how simply, what's the need of any other literature? Just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Shushu Sho, Prabhupada would describe this in two ways, as ardent hearing or submissive oral reception, this famous phrase, which we'll go into a little bit. One perceives the Lord, one realizes the Lord in one's heart, and one's life is complete, just by ardent hearing, which is what Maharaj Parikshit did. He gave up everything else and simply sat and heard for 7 days. Didn't sleep, didn't eat, didn't drink anything. And by the time the 10th canto came around, he's just eager to hear Lord Krishna's intimate pastimes that he entangled. And he said, all I want to do is drink. This word drink comes in the third verse. Drink this nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam, and that's fully satisfying to me. I don't need any other food. I don't need anything else. So this is the nature of pure transcendental sound vibration, that it is fully satisfying. And that's there in the verse that we just read, Sambritam. Sambritam means fully filled or fully satisfied. And in fact, you're never satiated. In one sense, you're fully satisfied, you don't want anything else, but in the other sense, no matter how much you have, you still want more, you see. And unlike material, you see, this is transferred by our ignorance and our illusion to this world, meaning that the pale reflection of the nectar of hearing Krishna Katha and serving Krishna in so many ways, which brings transcendental pleasure, is sense gratification. And as Krishna says right in the third chapter, this lust is never satisfied and it burns like fire. So we're looking for that unending, ever-expanding spiritual pleasure, but in the material sphere, and that leads to self-destruction, entanglement, birth and death, and misery. That's the grand illusion of the living entity trapped in the material world. So the whole mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he actually has these two tracks. When you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita right at the beginning, there's this Mangalacharan. And there are, I think, 5 or 6 verses describing Lord Chaitanya himself. And the Panchatattva is there a little bit, but then we have the Panchatattva has its own verse, Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam. But in defining Lord Chaitanya, first is this beautiful verse, Yadadvaitam Brahmo Panachati Tadapyasatanobha, in which it is said that the effulgence of his body is actually the Brahma Jyoti. The Brahma Jyoti is not different from Lord Chaitanya's effulgence. And the super soul in the heart is but his expansion. And he is himself Bhagavan, non-different from Krishna. So there's nothing beyond Krishna. Nachaitanyat Krishna Jagati Padatatvam Padamiha. This is a essential foundational verse of the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita and in the whole Hare Krishna movement. This Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya is founded on these several Paribhasa Sutras, they call it, kind of. There's one Paribhasa Sutra in the Bhagavatam. Eti Chanktakala Pangsa Krishnas tu Bhagavan Swayam. You remember some of us old timers back in the day when we had actual letterhead, and we send out mails, and it's internet site of Krishna consciousness of New Dwarka or Baltimore, New York. And then I noticed that they would always have this phrase right at the top, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. This must have been approved by Prabhupada. This is the foundational statement of the whole movement. This is why we're chanting Hare Krishna. That of all the different avatars and manifestations of the Lord, Krishna is Bhagavan himself, completely full in all 6 opulences, manifesting them. And this third verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. Krishna is God, and Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. And unless you have faith in both of those, then you're not part of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. And many devotees in India, they don't accept Lord Chaitanya as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we do. And that's the defining factor of all of our great acharyas in the line coming down from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in this second verse, it's describing how shushu sho, this word, a very important word. Now, if one is ardently hearing this transcendental vibration coming from a pure source, then one quickly purifies the polluted aim of life known as sense gratification. What a wonderful phrase. Punantite vishaya vidushatashayam. Did you ever wonder why the word vishaya and visha are so similar? Visha means poison. Vishaya means sense gratification. There's a little hint there right in the vocabulary. So, vidushata ashayam punanti. Punanti means purifying. So what that means is that it's not that you stop desiring, it's that your desires become purified. Your desire to engage in sense gratification is transferred and purified to your desire to chant Hare Krishna, to serve the devotees, to hear the Bhagavatam. And the things that we've all experienced, it's the things that you once, couldn't do what you thought you couldn't do without, now you don't even want to think about them. Just like Yamunacharya, you just spit at the thought. I remember when McDonald's opened. That's how old I am. I remember I used to go bowling in this one place, and all of a sudden along the way, in Saturday evening or Friday evening, there was a McDonald's there. Oh, how great. We can have, cheeseburgers and fries before or after our little, bowling session. And it was just like, and then it metastasized, if I can use that word, and all over the world. I'm a 30 billion soul or whatever it is, Sending 30 billion people to hell, It's disastrous. But that's just one of the many material desires that you accumulate in the material world. And all of it is just a misapplication of our enjoying tendency. Lord Krishna is said to be Anandamayo Bhyasat. Who can say what that means? Anandamayo Bhyasat. What is it? Not pleasure seeking. Anandamayo. He's full of ananda. By nature, we're pleasure seeking. He's the source of all pleasure, reservoir of all pleasure. By nature, he's full of ananda. Maya, not Maya, but Maya. Maya means full. So that's abhyasat means how do we know? By his lila, by understanding what he does and just studying his life. We are part and parcel of Krishna. That means by nature we're also anandamaya. But now what are we? Janma mrityu jara vyari dukkha doshana darshanam. Right? In the material sphere, although we still want to be anandamaya, and we're struggling hard to do that, we're failing at every attempt. This is because it's incompatible. We're spiritual, but we're in a material body, in a material world, and the material world is inevitably changing. And so all of those situations that have to be just right in order to enjoy something, they eventually change. There's this one verse I've been focusing on. It just came from Columbus. The prayers of Prahlad, which are full of so much important instruction. Right near the beginning, Surya, you probably know this one. Yasmat priya priya viyoga sayoga janma shokagnina sakalayona shadayamana. Dukkaushadam tadapi dukkam atadhyaham bhuman bhamami madame tavadasya yogam. So he's praying to Lord Nrsimhadev. First he takes the role of a conditioned soul, as great souls often do, Narottam in his song, Bhaktivinoda in his song. And he says, Yasmat priya priya viyoga. By these two things, priya viyoga and apriya sayoga. This is the source of our, it's called a shokagnina, a fire of lamentation. So those things which are dear to us, which we just develop as just by being in the material world. The first of which is your very body. And then the loving relationships and things that give you pleasure, the whole million things. But eventually, they get ripped away from you. Isn't it? The body itself is taken away. What to speak of your loving relations and everything. So this is one source of misery. Who can deny it? And then the other side is those things which you abhor, which you are afraid of, terrorized by, they're forced upon you. I mean, just look at the climate change results. These horrible storms that are coming up. Now the fires in California, they might turn the electricity off at any time, isn't it? There's so many things that we try. This is the source of the whole insurance industry. They scare you, right? Your house could burn down at any time. Then they show you a picture of a house burning down. Okay. Then let me give you the money so that if that happens, I'll be okay. You're trying to ward off the dukkha, right? So this is called dukkaushadam. Remedies for the misery. That's the third line. But what happens is those remedies turn into more dukkha. Dukkaushadam tadapi dukkam. Paying the insurance, that in itself is misery. And then finding out that you're not fully covered, you have a $10,000 copay when you get sick, isn't it? So it's just, this is the material world. So the source of it all is this 3-word little phrase at the end of the third line, atadiyaham. I'm thinking I'm something I'm not. You look in Prabhupada's synonyms, that's exactly what he defines, atadiyaham. I'm thinking I'm the body. And so the source of my pleasure is in the body and other bodily relations, physical, this is that. Complete mistake. So then what's the solution? 4th line. Bhulman bhamami vadame tabadasya yogam. Oh great Lord, please instruct this wandering soul in the science of your dasya yoga or your bhakti yoga. And the next verse is all about the relief brought from devotional service. So the Bhagavatam is filled with this. And Prabhupada explains here very, very nicely, the sufferings of human society are due to the polluted aim of life. Sense gratification. Read the 3rd chapter. What is our greatest enemy? Lust, material desire. Kama esha, krodha esha, rajogana samudvaha, mahasano mahapapma vidyanamiha vaidinam. This is a real enemy in this world. But who sees it as an enemy? They don't see these desires as enemies. They see them as things that we have to fulfill. And if I don't desire anything, then I'm depressed. I can't engage. In other words, that's another kind of misery, not desiring material things. So it's just a huge entanglement until there's an intervention. And you meet a devotee on the street, and give you a book, or some invitation, or you happen to be at the right time in the right place, and there's a Rath Yatra festival coming down the road. Somehow or other, Krishna reaches out to you through his devotees, through his external energies, some manifestation of it, right? He's spiritualized. And your interest is piqued. Somehow you get a seed of preliminary faith, enough to investigate more. Maybe all it is that you Google Hare Krishna. And these days, that's often the first step, And hopefully you'll get in touch with ISKCON that way, or something bona fide. But more hopefully, you get an actual book of Srila Prabhupada's that can give you the actual message as it is. And in the back of that book, or you remember that nice devotee, and you get the invitation and whatnot, and it brings you in the association of devotees. And your spiritual life begins. What's going on there? All those desires, desire to read, desire to eat, desire to see beautiful things, hear wonderful music, that is a little bit turned toward Krishnaized elements of those. So that when you're eating, you're not just eating, you're taking prasadam, and you're connecting with Krishna, and you're being purified. You don't even know how. But one of the ways I think most of us have experienced, it's so delicious, you want to come back again for more. And if you come back again into the temple environment, you're getting sadhu sangha. A few verses back from here, you may remember this very important verse. Tuliyama lavenapi naswagam nopanarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya martyanam kinotashya. That verse appears 3 times in the Bhagavatam. Whenever there's a repetition of a verse, you know it's very important. 3 times. And what does it mean? Tuliyama lavenapi. Even a moment's association with an associate of Bhagavan, Bhagavat Sangasya, that Sadhu Sangha is more valuable than any heavenly planet, Naswargam, even more valuable than liberation. Napunarbhavam means not coming back again. Because these other elements, you go to Svarga, but you come back down again. You attain some impersonal liberation, but you come back down again. You go to Goloka, you don't come back down again. That's actually our original home. So this is what Srila Prabhupada taught us to aspire for, and he gave us the means of achieving it. And the most important means, as described here, is transcendental sound vibration, beginning with Sankirtan, congregational chanting of the holy name. No prerequisites. Anyone, anytime, any place. You don't have to be a Brahmin. You don't have to be anything, you know. Anyone can chant, and immediately the purification starts to take place. Lord Chaitanya, Krishna, very accurately assessing the nature of the Kali Yugites, and understanding from Bhagavatam, we don't live very long, we're misguided, we're unlucky, we're not interested in spiritual life, and we're always disturbed. How are we going to practice yoga? You know, you can practice, baby yoga. You know, you can loosen up your body and everything. That's cool. But that's not going to help you solve your problems of life. And certainly you're not going to go alone to the Himalayas and, completely alone and sit in there for years and years. It's a very, 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 very tiny number of people who do that. And even so, they're not going to get the ultimate benefit that's gotten by pure devotees. So here we have this vast population that needs to be purified. So Lord Krishna comes as Lord Chaitanya and teaches this very easy process. Now, one thing that you notice is that the kirtan is just really takes off when you have some competent musicians, especially competent drummers. I want to congratulate we missed you in the Mangalarti. not to malign such as a noise drumming, but So, what is that? There's a science to that. It's called Taurya Trikena. You probably never heard that before. Taurya is singing, dancing, and playing musical instruments. Now, just think about that. That's such a force of Maya, isn't it? All the raves and the clubs and the concerts and the whole thing that you've been... That's singing and dancing and playing musical instruments. But it's total Maya. It just brings you heavily into Maya. So Lord Chaitanya used those same factors and employed them. And we're chanting this sacred, powerful mantra, but we're not really chanting. You're singing and dancing, and it's just much easier to be absorbed, and you're getting absorbed. And it's so pleasing to Krishna that anyone can feel it. And even if you just walk in the door on Sunday and experience a little bit, when Maya hits you and material energy and you're feeling a little depressed, let me go back. I remember that. I felt pretty happy in that temple. Let me go back to that, see what those Hare Krishnas are up to. And mostly it's the devotees themselves. I saw a vintage video, dandavats.com. I don't know if you follow that. A few days ago, they had an old David Susskind show with the Hare Krishnas on it. Do you remember that? From 1970, 71, I think it was. And there was, the famous devotees. There was Bhardraj, 21 years old. Everybody's shining with bliss, And so after they were explaining their names, everyone stood. He said, "Well, let's have a sample." Did you see it of the mantra? And there was a whole audience full of devotees. They stood up and it's ecstatic kirtan, and everybody. You could see that everyone they had been doing it, on the street and everywhere. This is how they were, and you could see this is the Hare Krishna movement, and how attractive it is right through the TV. I remember I don't know if this show or a subsequent David Susskind show. I'm living in Long Island, working in a hospital. And I said, I was starting to get a little bit interested in the Hare Krishna, but I was totally in Maya. I said, all right, enough with the Hare Krishnas. Let me go and watch some TV at my folks' house, my parents' house. It was all black and white. We didn't have So I go there and switch on Channel 5. I remember it was on Channel 5. There's David Susskind, and there's the devotees. There's Yogeshwar, blissfully explaining so eloquently, and Rupanuga, when he was 30 years old, I can't get away from these people. But that's what you want. You want not to be able to get away, to feel the attraction. But it's Krishna making arrangements, for you to come again in touch with, and feeling the need. I'm so depressed. This person hates me. This happened to me. Let me go to the Hare Krishna and have a little prasadam. And there I met Gadagaja, You know, he would always give me prasadam and preach to me whenever I go to Brooklyn Temple. Prabhu was there. Anyway, this is Krishna reaching out. And Prabhupada, of course, is the great hero of reaching out. You know, coming to America at that age, and with ill health, but been inspired and empowered by his own spiritual master's instruction and the prediction of Lord Chaitanya, and his, he just wouldn't give up. And even though there was so much difficulty, he almost died 3 times actually, right? Twice on the boat and once in the May of '67 with a stroke. But he proceeded on, and he was threatened with death. You know the thing of the Naxalites? When he went to, it was in Calcutta, went to a pandal, and they were these communists, these Naxalites, they're still around. And they sent a letter or some message, fly or die, you know. So Prabhupada ignored the message and just continued with the pandal. So they show up, you know, I don't know how many of them show up in the pandal and looking very grim and very threatening, you know. So Prabhupada started chanting the Brahma Samhita. And he said, give them some seats, give them some prasad, you know. So they're being honored, you know. In other words, they were disarmed by this fearless response. And all of them, you know, grew up in Bengal, you know, in that area, so they knew about Lord Chaitanya and everything. So their hearts were a little bit changed and softened. They took a seat, and gradually all that animus was dissipated. And Prabhupada, you know, the pandal went on. I mean, I'm telling you, these things happen. So this is Krishna reaching out through his great devotee, pure devotee, and showing us first of all, the importance of being Krishna conscious and giving Krishna conscious to others. You really become dear to Lord Chaitanya when you follow Nityananda's lead and approach the lowest in spite of danger and difficulty, to give them the holy name and give them books and give them Krishna. That's so these 2 tracks, again, to go back to that theme, in the beginning of the CC you'll find these verses, and they describe Lord Chaitanya's Lord Krishna's internal and external reason for appearing as Lord Chaitanya. And then they're explained these topics are explained in subsequent chapters. Those are studies of the CC. So the first the first external reason, you know, is to give the highest prema bhakti especially through the chanting of the holy name, Sankirtan. And arpita chadim chadat karunayavati nakalo. And it's a blessing verse. This is from Dagda Madhava, the beginning. May that Supreme Lord, who is known as the Son of Srimati Shachi Devi, be forever situated in the innermost chambers of your heart, resplendent with the hue of molten gold. He has come in this age of Kali to give what no incarnation has ever given before, the highest, most sublime mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So in doing that, he went to South India, he chanted, he danced, he preached, he did so many things, giving Krishna consciousness to everybody, millions of souls. But at the same time, Krishna had his own personal reasons for coming. And that was that he had these three divisions of the reason, you know, that in the 4th chapter, Krishna's Kaviraj, he gives us insight into Krishna's own thoughts. He says, I want to understand the glory of Srimati Radharani's love for me. I can't understand that in my position here. I want to perceive and understand my own attractive features from her point of view, through the lens of her love, so to speak, her unmatched love. I can't do that from this point of view. And I want to understand the bliss that she feels in loving me in so many varieties of ways and being loved by me. So endowed with these 3 emotions, these 3 desires, Lord Krishna appeared as Lord Chaitanya from the womb of Srimati Shachi Devi as the moon appeared from the ocean. That's the end of the verse. So basically, now how do we relate to this? We also need to have 2 tracks. Our first track is, I want to advance in devotional service. I want to be Krishna conscious. I want to experience these things that I read about. This makes complete sense to me. So this is a personal motivation, which is fine. And we want to get liberated, you know, at first. Otherwise, why would Krishna say, Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha doshana darshanam? One should always understand the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. Because in the conditioned state, that's one of the main impetuses for taking up spiritual life and continuing it, is that I want to be free of all misery. That's fine, as long as it's Krishna consciousness that you're going along. Now, eventually, that desire wanes, right? And you don't care. Nadanang nadanang nasundami. Lord Chaitanya says, let me be born again and again and again. I don't want any money. I don't want any, beautiful woman or anything like that. All I want is your unmotivated devotional service, birth after birth. But in the beginning, that we have to keep on. I like to give an analogy. Maybe you've heard it before. That because we need as much impetus as we can to continue on the path, to take it seriously and become strict. So Krishna is inviting us from Goloka. The beauty of the deity, the beauty of his pastimes, his all attractive nature is attracting us to serve him, to chant Hare Krishna. But at the same time, because we're conditioned and we're used to being in Maya, and we once rejected all that, right? That's why we're here. We need Durga's trident from behind us. Hey, get going. Here's the threefold miseries. Stay on the path. You want to be born again and suffer old age, disease, and death, and rebirth, packed in the womb? There's plenty of that in the Bhagavatam, right? To keep us going in the right direction. So in the front, Krishna's attracting us. Come, give up all your nonsense and just chant and dance and be my servant, and everything will be fine. Radharani is saying, fine. But because we're such nonsense, we need also that serious business from behind. Hey, let's get out of this world of birth and death. You listen to Prabhupada's lectures, and he has both of those. There's so much of that. People don't know. Right here, suffering of human society is due to the polluted aim of life. And so he's saying, you don't need to work so hard, in order to build up a society of unneeded and unnecessary desires and artificial needs. I like to say that the capitalist system, it tries to instill you with desires for things that you don't need so you can pay with it for money that you don't have. So they get you to go in debt, and then they keep taxing you, and it's horrible. But if you don't need it, if you can be happy just chanting Hare Krishna, it just is the most revolutionary thing. That's the solution to capitalism, not socialism. That's just another way of trying to fulfill material desires. But Prabhupada says spiritual communism. They had a phrase, and my father taught me this. Believe it or not, I was trained as an Orthodox communist. My father, when I was 8 years old, he started teaching me. He took down the book. I don't know if I told you this before. He hid the book because he thought the FBI was after him. And actually they were. And so he would take the Das Kapital, which is the Bible of the communists, written by Karl Marx, translated in English. And he would read to me, and he trained me up. And one of the things I remember is that there's this phrase, from each according to his abilities, to each according to his needs. Sounds like the Brahmacharya ashram, right? Think about it. If Krishna's in the center, then you can be happy with just meeting your needs, not all this artificial stuff. And your abilities, whatever abilities you have, engage in the service of Krishna. And because that service to Krishna gives you a pleasure that overwhelms all the material, you can be happy with very little. I listen to Prabhupada lecture every morning. And he's in Bombay. Right, during those early years, have you read about that? Rats climbing everywhere, it's very austere. No one thought they could actually build anything there in Juhu. It's like way out in the middle of nowhere. But devotees were still living there. And so Prabhupada would use them as an example, because he's speaking to the Indians, some Pandal or something. Look at these, Westerners, these Americans and Europeans, They're doing with practically nothing. They're used to sleeping on nice beds, now they're sleeping on the ground, they have no proper clothing. So why? Because, well, we would say something, because they love me, And of course, that's true. That's part of bhakti. But because you're experiencing the higher taste, and you can go through all of these things and tolerate. So that's the way in which society can actually be organized, true varnashram, right at the beginning of Bhagavatam. That varnashram, without Krishna in the middle, in the center, is nonsense. It becomes just caste consciousness. Those who are born in the Brahmin family, lording it over the others for material. No. Atak pumbit dvida shrestha. Those who know this verse, can I? Atak pumbit dvida shrestha. Varnarshama vibhagashaha. Svanasthitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haridoshanam. Unless Hari is being satisfied, that's the perfection of varnashram, then nobody gets satisfied. The Shudras aren't satisfied being dominated. They, revolutions, unions demanding. Nobody's satisfied. So that's what Prabhupada is saying right here, is that society can be easily organized to fulfill everyone's needs when Krishna is in the center and people are drinking in through all reception the nectarian message of Krishna, beginning with the holy name. And then, then you have the reign of Parikshit, the reign of Prithu, Yudhishthira. There's so many wonderful kings described here. And nature cooperates. Now, it gets too hot, there's too much wind, the rain is coming, there's floods everywhere. I was just in Potomac, Maryland. The temple flooded. They had these huge rains. The temple happened to be built in the lowest part of the land, and all the water went down there. They had 3 feet. Imagine 3 feet of water in this temple. Now they have to build a new temple on the hill. This is the nature. So yeah. So, but everything is in tune and is organized nicely when Krishna's in the center. So I wanted to share one verse with you. There's one, many of you know and familiar with, I know Dravida Prabhu is familiar with these, the song to the 6 Goswamis, written by Srinivasacharya. Thank you. So it's the second verse, the third verse, second line. Papo tapana kuntano tanabatam govinda ganamritai. Isn't it? This is what the 6 Goswamis did. So papo tapa means severe suffering due to sin. But they're cutting it off. They're relieving it. How? Govinda ganamritai. By pouring down on everyone's head nectarian songs about Govinda. So this is a verse from the Padyavali about the hearing of chanting, even in the middle of the conflagration of the Kali Yuga. So I'll give you this beautiful Sanskrit, and I put it into a little poem. Because it's right in the topic here. Aho bir nakale viduyate sudasudharam hororam pade pade dine dine chandana chandra shitalam yasho yashodatana yasagiyate. So you have to know a little culture first. Everyone knows that sandalwood paste is cooling, right? But not everyone may know that if you put in a little camphor, ground camphor, it becomes even more cooling. All the pujaris know that, right? So that's in this verse. Because at every step they drink a flood of wondrous nectar sweet, whose cooling power, sandal paste enhanced with camphor, can't defeat. They feel as if the raging blaze of Kali's days had ne'er begun. How blessed are they who fill their days with praise of Shri Yashoda's son. There you have it. For Premanandi. So let's fill our days with praise of Shri Yashoda's son, and we'll float along even in this Kali Yuga and then go back to guided. Okay. Is question now? I'm not so sure of the time factor. Okay. Any comments or questions? We have a mic. David Vrata has a question. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Does anyone have any questions first? Questions? Can you share one more shloka?
One more shloka? Okay. Let's see. I want to pick up. This one is the universal faith. These verses, just like the holy name, they're ever fresh. It's not like, I chanted that one already. Yeah, you can chant it 20 times. So this one's about the holy name. It's written by Raghunath Das Goswami. Radheti nama navasundara siru mugdam. Krishneti nama manorabhata gara dugdham. Savakshanam surabhiraga himena ramyam. Kritva tataiba bibame rasane chadar. Again drinking. Pibanti, piba. An excellent fresh nectar drink with endless subtle tastes. Such is the name of Radha, by whom all 3 worlds are graced. Condensed milk that is wonderfully delicious, thick and sweet. Such is the name of Krishna, in whom all attractions meet. Now mix these drinks, O thirsty tongue, and add the cooling spice of love, a prize the wise will try to buy at any price. And then at every moment drink this beverage most fine, and make my heart supremely blissful, peaceful, and divine. Here's one about Krishna dancing on the bank of the Yamuna. Can I get a drum? Oh, the drummer left. Maybe we don't need the drum. His flute emanates entrancing sounds for the cowherd girls whose love abounds, for the clever cloud-complexioned lord who's dancing upon the Kalindi shore. I can give you this verse. You try it 10 times in the morning, 10 times at night. See what happens. Okay, have a couple of minutes? One or two more? Okay, this is from Bilva Mangal Thakur, the Krishna Karnama. I have 2 verses that I put. They're full of verses. Definitely recommend it. Everyone should know this verse. It's quoted 3 times in the CC. Madoram madoram baparasya vibho madoram madoram vadanam madoram madogandi madusmita metadaho madoram 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 madoram. Sweet, sweet is my dear Lord's form, sweet is still his face so fair. But his honey-scented gentle smile is sweet beyond compare. And then, near the end, it's about the holy name also. Jaya 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 Deva 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 Chubhavana Mangala Divyanama Deha. Jaya 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 Deva Krishna Deva Shavana Manonaya Nama Tavatara. Oh glory, 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 Lord, oh glory unto thee, who with thy holy name, Oh glory, 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 Lord, oh glory unto thee, who with thy holy name bless all 3 worlds and set them free. Oh glory, glory, glory unto thee, O Krishna Dev, whose nectar floods our ears and eyes and hearts in endless waves. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Oh, wait, 1 verse about Lord Chaitanya. Okay. Unfortunately, I forget the Sanskrit, but I'll give you the English. Even low-born sinful souls entrapped in Kali's age, suffering unnumbered pains that no one can assuage, are easily delivered when you kindly seek them out and flood them with your splendid mercy, making bhakti sprout. And so with heart rejoicing at your mercy's endless store, I take full shelter of your lotus feet and then implore, O Lord Chaitanya, Sri Mukunda, Shachi's precious jewel, please shower your compassion on this wretched, stubborn fool. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Bhikkhu. Haribol. You like those, huh? Thank you. Please take this. I know you.
It's on my Kindle. Yeah. Okay, so we'll chant this first, and then we skip the first reading. Ishvaraparanam Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir